Well, back here at Buffalo, it is a beautiful day. In fact, record temperatures, record high temperatures yesterday and today. It's not going to deter this sold-out crowd. It's the Bills and the LA Chargers getting set to meet that guy, his first NFL start, when we return. Mentioned it was a little warm up here at Orchard Park. Yeah, 83 degrees, a very slight breeze, sunshine. It's been a beautiful weekend here in Buffalo, New York. There's Anthony Lynn, the former head coach of the Buffalo Bills, now in his second season with the Chargers. Sean McDermott got the job. Lynn applied for it as well. And McDermott really has done a very nice job. Last year, they made it to the postseason with a 9-7 record.
Let's clarify, though, Tommy. Anthony Lynn was a very brief stint as the Buffalo Bills
That's
head
right,
coach.
very brief stint.
Interim after Mr. Ryan got fired a couple years back.
Stephen Hauschka will tee it up. The Bills won the toss. They deferred. Soak it in, folks. New Era Field, and it is loud. And the Chargers will take a knee. So that'll bring out Philip Rivers. In his 15th year, now 36 years old. You meet with him, Steve, and you know that not only does he have an idea what's going on with his team, he has an idea what's going on with every team.
Well, everybody that plays against Philip Rivers or plays with Philip Rivers, they all say the same thing. He is a coach on the football field. He breaks down every single assignment for everybody on pretty much both sides of the ball. It's very hard to affect him and to make him uncertain about what's going on, but that's what Buffalo's going to try to do today.
Bills are starting with a nickel package. It's an empty backfield for the Chargers on first down from the 25. Rivers looking to throw. Flushed out. He'll run. He doesn't like to run that much, and he slides forward and gets some positive yards. It's a gain of 7 yards. Well, that's a nice job. That's the objective for the Bills.
Well, you won't see this very often on Philip Rivers. He does not want to tuck it and run, but he really thought he had a nice matchup on the slot, but the Buffalo Bills, great defense, played 2 deep coverage over the top, man-to-man underneath, and they really acted like they knew what was coming. Philip Rivers smartly tucked it and picked up a nice gain.
Chargers spread out Virgil Green, one of their tight ends, to the far side of the field. Melvin Gordon by himself in the backfield. The jet sweep. J.J. Jones. And Matt Milano makes the tackle for the Chargers. That's excellent pursuit.
Yeah, that's a play on that jet sweep where you really are trying to catch the defense off guard. Get outflank them before they have a chance to react. Right there, Milano's super job of anticipating that play and running it down.
Steve, this was one of the objectives for Anthony Lynn. He said, listen, we got 3rd and short. We have to convert. We can't punt the football away. Antonio Gates in for the first time. He's on the right side of the offensive line. Play clock is down to 2. Rivers to Gordon. And Gordon slips down shy of the first down. Vontae Davis out of the doghouse and back in the starting lineup with the tackle.
Well, another frustrating 3rd down, lack of execution by the Los Angeles Chargers. Right there, Philip Rivers, all he had was Melvin Gordon in the flat. He lost his footing, but really Buffalo was in great position to make that tackle anyway. Very good defensive first series for the Buffalo Bills.
Marcus Murphy is back deep to receive for the Bills. Drew Kaiser is on the punt. This is a good punt. Murphy calls for the fair catch inside the 15. And now we will see for the first time as a starter, 22-year-old Josh Allen. And listen to this crowd come to their feet as he heads out to the fields.
Yep, you see some number 17 jerseys already in the crowd. People excited. They have been looking for a long time for their next quarterback.
His mom and dad are here today to watch. So are some friends from the California area. His girlfriend is here as well. We asked him, are you wearing number 17 because of Philip Rivers? He said, no, that's just kind of the number that Wyoming gave me one year. And the handoff goes to McCoy. McCoy is tripped up at the line of scrimmage. Take a peek at the Bills offense. McCoy is such a big part of it, but this offensive line is also, as we said in the open, a very big part of it. In fact, Ryan Groy said just what LeSean McCoy said. We have to step up. We've got to protect this kid.
And that's the mentality they have. They know there's an awful lot going on in the mind of number 17 on their side, and they have to help him take the pressure off him as much as they possibly can.
Logan Thomas, one of the tight ends in the slot. Again, it's McCoy, and McCoy is wrapped up after gaining 2. That defense, which we said is led by Melvin Ingram. Isaac Rochelle makes the tackle. He is filling in for Joey Bosa.
So here's the challenge for the Buffalo Bills offense, though. The Los Angeles Chargers, we know they're keying 100% on LeSean McCoy, number 25. When he's out there on the football field, they know that is going to be the security blanket for Josh Allen. This situation as well in the passing game. We'll see how the youngster executes here right now. First third down.
Charles Clay came in motion. He's going to be pivotal for Allen's success. Allen steps up in the pocket. He's hit, and he is taken down. It's the first sack of the day, and the first sack for Nwosu, the rookie out of USC.
Yeah, we were told, watching Nwosu coming off the edge, we were told that he was going to see a lot more reps this week. He was going to be a big factor, especially knowing that Joey Bosa was not going to be healthy to play today. They need to create another threat off the edge other than Melvin Ingram.
Virgil Green back deep to receive for the Chargers. Not a great punt. Green will take it at the 42, and he's going to be inside Buffalo territory. A flag sits down inside the 10-yard line. And the referee is Clay Martin, and he is signaling holding on the Buffalo Bills. The rookie punter Bohorquez with his first punt.
During the kick, holding offense number 82. Los Angeles will have the 10-yard penalty enforced from the end of the play. First down, timeout.
Logan Thomas called for the penalty. Philip Rivers has excellent field possession with his second possession when we return. All right, Steve, let's get right to the keys to the game as the Chargers get the football a second time.
Well, the keys for the game, I think that for Chargers, you got to have balance in the game. Running in, passing the ball. You don't want to be one-dimensional. Keep the pressure on the defense and create opportunities in the play action. And for Buffalo, you got to affect Philip Rivers. That doesn't mean hit him. That means keep him moving. Don't let him have an idea of what's really coming at him.
Keenan Allen in motion. The blitz by the Bills. They dump it off underneath to Virgil Green, and he breaks a couple of tackles inside the 15-yard line. He's down to the 13. It's a gain of 25. Micah Hyde makes the tackle, and that's the beauty of Philip Rivers.
Well, you're going to see pressure coming from the Buffalo Bills, and what's going to happen on the crossing route right across the middle of the field. Philip Rivers picks it up, gives ground, and finds an open receiver. Actually, it was the tight end on the inside, and that got the perfect lane to throw that football. Brilliant identification by Philip Rivers.
With the injury to Hunter Henry, Virgil Green has stepped up and has become more of a pass catcher for the Chargers. The handoff goes to Gordon, who scoots down to the 10. It's a gain of 3. Jordan Poyer makes the tackle.
And that's the key right there. They want to feed the football to Melvin Gordon up inside and establish the fact that the Buffalo Bills are going to have to play physical run defense, because that creates the matchups on the outside that Philip Rivers is looking for on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Melvin Gordon with his first second opportunity of the day. Yesterday, he hurt Steve Berline's hand, shaking his hand. His paws are so big.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Mike Williams in motion on second down. Rivers to the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Chargers, Mike Williams.
Wow, I'll tell you what, that was a heck of a throw and catch. The Buffalo Bills defense was in position to make that play, but Williams, 6'4", 220 pounds, goes up not afraid to take the hit whatsoever. You're going to see the safety coming across. I don't think Philip Rivers saw the safety right there coming across the field, and he didn't care. Obviously, it didn't matter. That was Jordan Poyer.
Well, they've been waiting for Mike Williams to step up, and that is his first NFL touchdown reception. Caleb Sturgis on for the point after, and it is good. The Chargers on top 7-0 with their second possession. We told you Mike Williams was going to have an impact today. We weren't sure if it was going to be this soon.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Ram Trucks. NFL Sunday Ticket on DirecTV. And by Corona Extra. Find your beach.
Three plays, 38 yards, the touchdown for the Chargers. They had excellent field position. Marcus Murphy's trying to do the same for the Bills. And he'll get up close to the 25. All right, Steve, let's look at that last touchdown.
Yeah, you're going to see Mike Williams stacked right here on the end of the line of scrimmage. And what he's going to do is very simply just going to run up here, run a post pattern. But watch Jordan Poyer right there. He actually reads it very well, makes a break on the ball. This ball should not have been thrown by Philip Rivers, but it shows the confidence that he has in Mike Williams. I mean, Poyer is in perfect position to make that play, but just a physical wide receiver and a quarterback that trusts him making a great play.
All right, so now Josh Allen down 7-0. That's DeMarco, the fullback, in motion out of the backfield. Allen looking to throw, dumps it off to McCoy. And McCoy in the flat makes one mass miss. And he gets up to the 31-yard line. All right, let's take a look at the keys for the Bills offensively.
Well, that's good timing right there. I don't care what side of the ball you go when the Bills have the ball. It is all about LeSean McCoy right there. You got to find a way, if you're the Los Angeles Chargers, to take number 25 out of the game, put all the pressure on Josh Allen, young quarterback, and vice versa, same thing. Buffalo knows McCoy's got to be a factor in this game.
We kind of got that feeling in both conversations. The one with McCoy is Allen is wrapped up and ripped down. Wow. Derwin James, the rookie who plays up on the line of scrimmage, was able to pick up his second sack of the season.
Well, that very well should have been a fumble. I don't know how Josh Allen hung on to that football. You're going to see Derwin James coming off the edge, absolutely just all right off the edge, shoots right up there. Look at he breaks up almost that exchange. Josh Allen, big hands, obviously. I don't know how he hung on to that football, but it could have been a disastrous play for the Bills.
So now third down after a loss of 6. Clay is in motion. Marcus Murphy in. And on third down, Allen to throw. He zips it to the far side, incomplete. Under his receiver, Benjamin. And the Bills will have to punt.
And Benjamin really wasn't expecting that football, obviously. But what happened, there was pressure coming off the slot, off the right-hand side of Josh Allen. The Los Angeles Chargers doing a great job of mixing things up like we knew they would against a young quarterback. And right now, the Bills don't really know what's coming at them.
J.J. Jones back deep to receive. Again, he's going to come running up. He'll field it at the 33. But he got a block and is up close to the 40-yard line. Logan Thomas makes the tackle. Third possession for Philip Rivers. He's got a touchdown and a 3-and-out in his first 2. Help people affected by Hurricane Florence and other disasters. Text Red Cross to 90999 to donate $10 to American Red Cross Hurricane Relief. We talked to Melvin Ingram about the Hurricane Florence. He lives still outside of the Charlotte area. His mom is here, but he still has a lot of his family members that are being affected by Hurricane Florence. On first down, Rivers to work again. Rivers now 4 for 4. That's Eckler out of the backfield, and Edmonds wraps him up, but it's a gain of 10.
Yeah, and this is what really worries head coach Sean McDermott for the Buffalo Bills. Austin Eckler, he said that guy is just a football player. Nothing else you can say about it. 5 receptions last week for over 80 yards. The guy is a threat no matter where they line him up. You got to be aware of it, or you're going to have a long day, I'll tell you that.
Well, he's in the game with Melvin Gordon. That's Eckler in motion. He'll take the handoff. He gets to the edge, and he bursts into Buffalo territory. And he gets down to the 35. Ramon Humber, Jordan Poyer make the tackle, gain of 16.
Really, that is a really nicely designed play right there on the jet sweep right there. You bring Ekeler in motion, and he gets outside. You saw Lorenzo Alexander just could not quite react quick enough to make that tackle on the edge. He's unblocked, but he doesn't know it's coming until it's already past him. Ekeler right there, a lot of different things you can do with him.
At a Division II Western State in Gunnison, Colorado, the same school that produced Sam Seal, who was a Chargers quarterback from 88 to 91. Gordon, and he is stopped behind the line of scrimmage, slowed up behind the line of scrimmage.
And right there you can see, Tom, why maybe Ekeler has had the early success that he's had on those two plays. The focus right now is on Melvin Gordon. They're really stacking the line, trying to shut him down, not let him get it going.
That is Philip Gaines, who is down on a knee with an injury. He's the one that slowed him in the backfield. It looked like he was holding his wrist or his arm. Gaines in his 5th year out of Rice. He is in there as the nickel defender. It's his right arm. It was the one that initially had the ankle of Melvin Gordon. The Bills are without Taron Johnson, the rookie out of Weber State. We watched him at practice on Friday. He was just doing conditioning in the back of the end zone. He's out with a bad shoulder. 2nd down and 10. Sean Polkin is the tight end, getting some advice from Philip Rivers. Play clock is down under 5. And it's Gordon, who's slowed again in the backfield and then swarmed upon. And that's what you need to do. Jordan Poyer made the final tackle, but there were a whole host of hands that were involved there.
Yeah, everybody really is geared on trying to shut down Melvin Gordon. There's no doubt about it. Watch the rookie in the middle, too, Tremaine Edmonds. He steps up in there, plugs up the hole. Melvin Gordon has nowhere to go, and Poyer does a super job of stepping up in there, making that tackle.
Give some credit to Harrison Phillips, the rookie out of Stanford. He was there as well. 3rd down. This is what Rivers does so well. Manages the play and has time on 3rd down. Zips it, and it's complete at the 20-yard line. And he's got a 1st down again to Mike Williams.
Well, if you think Philip Rivers still can't rip this football right there, that was a tight window. He had to get it to Mike Williams quick between defenders. You see that little window, and that ball, if it's a split second later or in a different location, it's intercepted or at least broken up by Poyer. Great throw by Philip Rivers.
Rivers now 5 for 5, Steve. Were you ever this kind of quarterback where you would just call the play up the line of scrimmage like this?
Well, I never had a chance to sit in the same location for more than a few years as Philip Rivers has, so no.
Well, here's Gordon into the open field. Touchdown, Los Angeles. A 20-yard run for Melvin Gordon. His first rushing touchdown of the season.
Well, you're going to see this is way too easy. The motion across the formation is what really kind of it tipped the rotation. You're going to see the rotation coming, or the motion, excuse me, coming across. The whole defense then starts believing the play is going where the motion is. Melvin Gordon, a little counter action coming back the other way. Great job by the offensive line getting around on the edge. Boy, that was way too easy for the Chargers.
Caleb Sturgis on for the point after. And it's 14-0 LA with 4:18 to go here in the first quarter. First rushing touchdown for the Chargers in 2 games as Melvin Gordon scampers in.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I hope John Lawrence is wearing some sunblock today. You kind of need sunblock out here in Buffalo on a day like this. Temperature in the 80 degrees.
I don't know if they sell sunblock in Buffalo, do they? Is it findable?
It has been beautiful here the last 3 days. Marcus Murphy back deep to receive. He'll just take a knee. And we'll see what Josh Allen can do. Down 14-0. So this is the first NFL start for Josh Allen. So we decided to talk to some of our quarterbacks about what they remember about their first NFL start. This is what Dan Fouts said. I thought this was cool. It was bittersweet because I was replacing the greatest quarterback ever, Johnny Unitas. I would have loved to have just sat and watched him for a few years. Danny went 12 of 30 for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. How about that? I replaced Johnny Unitas.
Yes, that's quite the big shoes to fill right there.
On first down, Allen to throw. Dumps it off to LaShawn McCoy. It's a nice safety valve to have, and it's a quick gain of almost 10 yards.
This is a really important series in this ball game. Fans very excited, a little bit sarcastically, I think. First down, or it wasn't even quite a first down. It was an 8-yard gain by LaShawn McCoy. But remember now, this Buffalo Bills team last week did not even have a first down the whole first half, and they still haven't had one yet today.
Yeah, they also had their lowest yardage total in the first half since 2003, 33 yards. Second down and 1. Off the play fake. Josh Allen steps up. He has time. He'll run. He's going to break a tackle, and he has the first down. Isaac Rochelle is the one that made the tackle.
This is a young quarterback right now. I want you to watch Charles Clay, the tight end, right here. He's going across the field. No one covers him, but Josh Allen's eyes were this way the whole time. You're going to see he's uncovered. Actually, he's right over here on the side. You see nobody covering him right there.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen did a good job not trying to force the football, but you got to see those uncovered receivers.
LaShawn McCoy bounces up to the 40-yard line. Let's get to a Dolphins Jets update with JB. JB.
Miami scoring off of a turnover.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, the rookie, threw a pick, and this led to a Kenyon Drake 6-yard run, and Miami has taken the lead in New York 7-0.
Back to the dulcet tones of Tom McCarthy and Steve Berline.
Thank you, JB. We appreciate that. It is second down and 5. The Bills did get their first down. McCoy in the backfield, little pistol formation, high snap, a little toss to the front to Robert Foster. And that's a pass play that takes Foster inside LA territory to the 47. Denzel Perryman makes the tackle.
That's the play we saw the Bills working on Friday at practice. It's hard to time that up, but boy, if you catch it right, you get the football to a Robert Foster who's got some speed around the edge. That's a nice first down play. We talked about how that was so important on first and second down. If you can get those kind of plays to keep Josh Allen from having those third and long situations, he's got a chance to be successful.
Robert Foster getting some more time. Jeremy Curley was let go yesterday. Allen throws on the run, incomplete. And it's broken up. Kaiser White. Monday, September 24th on CBS. One name says it all. Magnum PI. Don't miss the series premiere 1 week from tomorrow on CBS.
One of the things we're also going to see quite a bit out of Josh Allen today, I think, until he really becomes comfortable in this offense, is that movement type of stuff. That was a bootleg right there. Melvin Ingram on the backside of that play did a good job of being disciplined and not giving the edge to Josh Allen.
Handoff goes to McCoy. McCoy's got some room on the outside. And he's inside the 30-yard line. There is a flag sitting, though, at the 48 of Buffalo.
Yeah, I think they're going to call Jordan Mills.
Holding, offense number 79.
Yeah.
10-yard penalty, replay the down.
And that's such a shame because he did not need to hold on this play. The play was set up perfectly right here. You're going to watch him. There's Mills, and he just tries to come up and get on the linebacker, and what he ends up doing is just grabbing onto him and hanging on a little bit too long right there on the edge.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see it. I think LaShawn McCoy was going to be able to get outside anyway.
I think you heard Josh Allen say to Clay Martin, that was a little late. That call was a little late. See the O-line trouble last week. 15 quarterback pressures, 6 sacks, which we talked about, and also 6 penalties. Don't discount the penalties. They were huge last week.
They were huge.
Second down and long. Allen floats it to Murphy, incomplete. Dangerous because there were 2 defenders around him.
It really was an easy throw, though, Tom. He was wide. You're going to see, as Josh Allen starts scrambling to the left, you're going to see the running back has just faded out in the flat. There's nobody out there in front of him. And the wrap, one of the wraps on Josh Allen was his accuracy on the delivering the football. Look, there's nobody out here. This is wide open. You just got to put that ball soft and catchable on the running back, and it's going to be a big gain. They're going to get the first down, but he does not make the easy throw.
And now facing a 3rd down and long. 7th play of the drive. Pockets collapsing, and he overthrows Zay Jones and Andre Holmes. And it'll be 4th down. Justin Jones was getting in the grill of Josh Allen.
Well, when you're looking at 2nd and 3rd and long, they're calling a penalty on the. Looks like the fans believe it's on the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't know if there was some celebration or not. We'll wait and see what Clay Martin says. It's going to be a dumb penalty against the Chargers.
The only way they can get a first down it would be if it was unsportsmanlike conduct.
I think it was a celebration by Desmond King. .111 to play in the first quarter.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Los Angeles number 20. 15-yard penalty, first down. That is number 20's first unsportsmanlike penalty that counts towards a possible disqualification.
So there you go. There was also mocking that the Bills will have to punt. So Desmond King called for the unsportsmanlike. It is his first. He'll check out of the game. And he'll probably get the ire of Anthony Lynn.
He'll get an earful. There it is right there. He's saying, are you kidding me? That's the kind of play that lets a team back in the ballgame. Now, Buffalo needs the capital. I would love to see them right now with a hard play action to LeSean McCoy and give Kelvin Benjamin a chance to make the ball. Here he is, make a play up the field.
There's the play action. Allen's looking to the other side. He goes to the other side. It's complete inside the 25-yard line. It's Charles Clay, who was quiet last week. Jaleel Adai makes the tackle.
That's a perfect call. Whether it went to Kelvin Benjamin or Clay, those are your 2 big play guys in the passing game. You got to get them involved, and that was the perfect time to call that. After a big momentum swing, let them go with the hard play action, make that throw. Well done by everyone.
First down for the 22. Here's McCoy. And not much there. He gets back to the line of scrimmage. Brandon Mebane makes the tackle. 2nd down and 10. What a great reaction from Josh Allen's family, his dad Joel, after that pass play to Charles Clay. There's his family right there. His dad's wearing the white number 17 jersey as the clock winds down the final 10 seconds of this first quarter. That's the end of the first quarter. Chargers 14, Bills nothing. We'll return to Buffalo after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS, the home of Super Bowl 53. Back here in Buffalo at the start of the second quarter, it's 14-0 LA over the Bills. This is the best drive of the day for the Bills. First 2 drives, no yards, 2 punts. This drive, 54 yards, helped out by a Desmond King unsportsmanlike penalty.
Yeah, that was the kind of play that'll drive a coach crazy. But here now, if you're Josh Allen, and I'm sure that Sean McDermott was pounding into his head right now, the one thing you cannot do is get careless with that football. You got to protect it. I would love to see right here, they were working on some of this stuff on Friday, maybe some designed quarterback runs, because he's such a physical presence with the football.
Triangle receivers off to the right. This is the longest drive of the year so far for the Bills. Allen, the pocket collapses and he loses yards. Down to the 33. Melvin Ingram got in there.
All right, I'm going to show you something right here. This is Zay Jones is right up here. What they're going to do, they're just going to run up and do a little curl. This is where Josh Allen should have been reading. You'll see how open this is. We'll run it as we get to the snap.
Whistle blows. They try to go quick.
They did try to go on the quick count.
On third down. Clay Martin, the referee for today's ball game. Originally, they needed to get inside the 12-yard line for first down. Their third downs have been 7, 10, 20, and 21 so far. This is 21 yards, but the penalty might change this.
The play was shut down because the officials were not in position for the snap. There's no foul in the play.
Well, the officials weren't in position. I don't even think anybody on the sidelines was in position.
Well, what you're going to see right here. Watch. This is where Josh Allen should have been going, the top of the screen. Look at how wide open Zay Jones is right there. Josh Allen was looking to the wrong side of the field. That's a young quarterback mistake. He's got to know which way the defense is most vulnerable. That time he picked the wrong side.
On third down, Allen dumps it off to McCoy. McCoy back inside the 20 and inside the 25, down to the 24-yard line. Jatavis Brown makes the tackle, and they're going to attempt a field goal.
Well, when you look at it, Tom, why is that significant? It would only been about a 10 or 12-yard gain, but you're looking at a third down and makeable, at least third and around 10 yards as opposed to third and 20. And that's why a little play like that can have a big impact long-term on the course of a drive and a game.
And hopefully that'll get slower for Allen as he goes forward.
It will get slower. And they'll use that as a teaching tape for him, without a doubt.
43-yard field goal attempt by Stephen Hauschka. 1 for 2 this year. It's a good snap. It's a good hole. The kick is on its way, and it is good. Well, Josh Allen said the objective is to get points. Well, on his drive here, he gets 3 points from Stephen Hauschka. It's 14-13 Chargers. 14-3, Chargers on top. They'll get the ball back as the Bills will kick off after the field goal. 43 yards by Stephen Hauschka. Hauschka will tee it up at the 35. KJ Jones will just take a knee. All right, so the Chargers have been moving. Rivers is 5 for 5 throwing the football so far.
Well, the challenge that Phil Rivers you face when you're playing against him is you try to blitz him, he buys time, gets the ball off, nice completion to his tight end right there. Then right here, he's good enough to understand his receivers, how well they're going to go up and get the football. They did it right there with Mike Williams. And then if you line up wrong on defense, he'll make you pay by checking to the right run play right there. Melvin Gordon, easy run for a touchdown.
Everybody talked about trust, that Philip Rivers needed to gain trust in Mike Williams. We got the sense yesterday that he trusts him.
Oh, there was a little twinkle in his eye when he was talking about him. He's happy to have him healthy and out there on the field. He can't wait to get it going with him.
Here's Eckler, and Eckler has a first down, and more as he barrels his way across the 45 and up to the 46-yard line. Lorenzo Alexander made the tackle.
Well, there's no trickery involved with this play. Eckler just running up in there behind his line. You had a pulling Virgil Green right there, but it didn't really affect the play. The bottom line is that the hole was too big for Eckler to get up in there. He was untouched until he got to that third level of the defense. Thank goodness Micah Hyde was there to make a solid tackle and stop the play.
So first down, Eckler looked like he got the wind knocked out of him. Eckler 2 carries, 38 yards. That was a gain of 22. Rivers to throw. And to the near side, his pass is complete to Green, and Green down to the 30-yard line. Lorenzo Alexander made the tackle.
Well, this is what Philip Rivers was talking about. The play action off the run. The hard action this way. Here's Virgil Green. He's just going to run up and go to the corner. But watch the linebackers step up and defend the run. They've got to play the run. That allows Virgil Green to slip into that hole behind. A nice, easy throw and catch, and that's what Philip Rivers was saying they were hoping would set up.
Is that anybody, or is it Tremaine Edmonds and his youth?
It's everybody. But Tremaine Edmonds, they're going to try and take advantage of his inexperience.
Here's Eckler again, a little pitch. He breaks the tackle of Edmonds and has a first down out of bounds inside the 15. What a weapon he is.
But now you got to give Ken Wisenhunt credit as well, the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. the design that he has on some of these plays and getting the ball to Ekeler on the move in space like that. That was a reverse. We saw him on the jet sweep earlier. They're getting the ball to him on little swing routes on the outside, trying to get him the ball in space. He's a pretty hard out when you get the ball out there with nothing in front of him but green grass.
Gain of 16 yards. And it's first down from just inside the 15. Allen in motion. The handoff to Gordon. Gordon's got a blocker. Hurdles over one tackler. And down inside the 10 to the 9. Well, after getting 3 points, I would think the importance of the Bills to get a stop here in the red zone is huge at this point.
Yeah, it is huge. Unfortunately, the Chargers have so many weapons, and who do they march out there on the football field right now other than Antonio Gates, number 85. But you got Keenan Allen, who has not had a ball thrown to him yet today. He's let Keenan Allen lined up on the top of your screen, singled out here in motion. Has not had a ball thrown to him. Haven't had to throw to him yet.
Rivers to throw, looks to the near side. It's Gordon again, second touchdown of the day. He's got one rushing and one receiving. And the Chargers are on the board once again.
Well, it's almost unfair. You give Philip Rivers this many weapons. And right there, Melvin Gordon comes through virtually uncovered. Here he is, the running back. He just checks through, runs a fake. It's another play-action play out to the flat. The receivers on the outside to the right are just kind of clearing it out for him. And you got Melvin Gordon. He was lined up. And that right there was Tremaine Edmonds. That was a rookie, inexperienced play right there. He had Melvin Gordon man-to-man. He just let him go.
Point after is good. Philip Rivers is now 7 for 7 for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Chargers have a 21-3 lead. How would you like to have this guy in your backfield? Pretty impressive.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Snickers. You're off your game when you're hungry. Eat a Snickers. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the NFL. And by Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network.
Chargers, Steve, have been in the red zone 5 times. They're 3 for 5 so far in today's ball game. 5 plays, I should say. They've scored 3 times. 5 plays in the red zone. They've scored 3 times.
Yeah, they're pretty explosive, and they were 2 for 2 last week against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Marcus Murphy will take a knee. All right, so Josh Allen has felt the pressure so far in this first half, which I guess we expected.
Yeah, we expected it to be a struggle for sure. But with the Bills were hoping to keep the game close. Now you're in a situation where they're playing catch-up. Josh Allen, that was not his fault. That was just a great play by the Chargers defense. Right here, a little bit of pressure. That was the one where Josh Allen probably should have been looking the other way and found Zay Jones. But everybody knows that there are going to be those learning experiences. The defense has to step up and keep this game close.
Already 3 sacks off the play fake. Allen steps up in the pocket. Dumps it off to the near side. Zay Jones up to the 30. It's a gain of 5.
Even right there, Tom, that was a good job of Josh Allen getting to the check down, but he needs to get to that a little bit quicker. If he gets through when he comes out of that play action fake, he looks down the field, he doesn't see what he likes. You got to know that those checkdowns are there. Get to him quicker.
How long does that take? Is it different for every quarterback?
It's different for every quarterback for sure, but it should start registering as the year goes along. He has to experience it.
On second down, Marcus Murphy to the left. And he gets a couple of yards up to the 32. Kaiser White makes the tackle. Brandon Mebane there too.
And the reason, though, why some little things like that are important, getting that check down a little bit quicker, is because if you get it on that running back a little bit quicker, he can turn and make a couple more yards, maybe break a tackle and get a first down for you, as opposed to getting hit right as he catches the football.
9:40 and counting to play here in the second quarter. At a third down and manageable. And Murphy is wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Philon was there immediately and was able to make the tackle. There just wasn't much there.
Nah, you know, the Chargers are going to make Josh Allen make plays. They're going to play run first no matter what the down and distance is. And so either you're going to have Josh Allen keep the football and run with it, or allow him to make some plays with his arm.
Clay Martin has blown this play dead, trying to make sure everybody is set. There's Bo Horquez, who was in camp with the Patriots, never punted in a preseason game. Patriots had hoped to put him on the practice squad, but the Bills able to pick him up. They wanted a little different look. That's why they signed him, a left-footed punter. J.J. Jones going the wrong way. Still going the wrong way. And he is taken down inside the 20-yard line. Tackle made by Remain Humber. Chargers with the ball, up 21-3 when we return. Steve, if you're an LA Chargers fan, you're excited about this graphic here. If you're a Bills fan defensively, the opposition is now 9 for 9 in the red zone in the first 2 games.
Is that good?
Well, it's good for the Chargers and the Ravens.
It's good for whoever's playing the Bills defense, yeah.
On first down, Rivers pressured, and that's his first incompletion of the day. Jerry Hughes knocked him down.
Yeah, Rafael Bush was coming on the blitz as well, bringing pressure. You're going to see pressure coming off the edge right here, and Jerry Bush, he's got Jerry Hughes as well. Right there, that's what they got to do to affect Philip Rivers. I mean, you cannot let him stand back there and deliver the football, not worry about some sort of pressure.
Rivers began the game 7 for 7. His record is 15 for 15 back in 2007 to start a game. On second down with an empty backfield. Slings it, and his pass is complete to Keenan Allen. It's his first touch of the day, and up to the 30-yard line.
It's a first down.
Gain of 11 on the play.
Just a little option route by Keenan Allen. Just show your numbers right away. Philip Rivers knew that was a soft spot in the defense. Take it, let him run with it.
Keenan Allen is so quick. We asked him about being named the comeback player of the year. He goes, yeah, I was excited about it. I don't want to go through it again. It does mean that you're injured. Melvin Gordon right up the middle. And up to the 33, gain of 3 yards.
Well, this is a time where the Buffalo Bills defense needs to step up. They really have to get this ball back for their offense, give them a chance to go down and get some points before the end of the half. If the Chargers go down and score on this drive, this game is, pretty much unreachable with a rookie quarterback in the second half.
Bills playing without Shaq Lawson, who's out with a hamstring injury. He's one of their edge rushers. Also, Philip Gaines injured earlier in this ball game. On second down, Rivers from the gun underneath to Tyrell Williams. And he's out of bounds for another first down. Rafael Bush was there in the coverage.
Well, when you got a lot of time to stand back there and look over the defense, and then you got receivers running open on plays like that right there to Tyrell Williams, it makes the quarterback's job a lot easier, especially a quarterback like Philip Rivers.
You saw Sean McDermott. He's a defensive guy, and he's faced defenses like this. They have to somehow slow down, but the amount of weapons that Philip Rivers has, I mean, you were a quarterback, you'd love to have this kind of weapons.
No doubt.
Spoken in motion, Rivers to throw again. To the middle, pass is complete to Tyrell Williams, and he's upended. He lost the football. It's recovered by the Bills, it looks like, at the 37-yard line. Vontae Davis was there to trip him up.
And the question is, did the ground cause the fumble, or was the ball coming loose before he hit the ground?
Yeah, because he was definitely tripped up. Eddie Yarbrough comes up with the fumble. And now Clay Martin will discuss it. Yeah, if he wasn't tripped up and he hit the ground and it popped out, well, then it's a fumble definitively.
There was contact.
There was contact.
Tripped up.
The ruling on the field was a completed pass, a fumble, which was recovered by Los Angeles. First down.
Recovered by the Chargers.
That ball was definitely out before he hit the ground.
Wow, the challenge flag is in, and Sean McDermott's running after one of the officials saying, hey, I threw it.
You can see the ball popped out by Poyer before Williams hits the ground. And
Boy, it did look
how do
like
they determine?
it looked like Edmonds had recovered it. It really did, but then there was a scrum underneath, and you've been in the middle of those scrums.
Well, here's the ruling for the officials. There has to be, in their determination, clear recovery of the football.
Buffalo was challenging the ruling on the field that the ball was recovered by Los Angeles.
I think it's a great challenge by Sean McDermott. It's a needed challenge at this point.
Well, the problem is it was ruled Chargers football.
Correct.
So it's got to be clear to the officials when they review it that Buffalo had possession. It's got to be clear possession.
I think it's hard unless they say that Edmonds or Yarbrough had it immediately before the pile.
Right.
To say that it's clear at that
This is the
point.
best view right here. Let's see.
Yeah, Williams jumped on it too.
It's between Williams' legs. I mean, it's between Edmonds' legs down there, and they're all scrambling for it. So I don't know if
is that clear possession?
It's not clear possession. That's the problem. Now, the Buffalo Bills came out of the pile with the football. I just don't think they're going to be able to turn it based on the angles that are available.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, particularly when there's a pile like that. I mean, you can blow it up as much as you want.
Right.
But to blow it up and see how tight it is.
Well, what I don't understand is how, see, the referees, when they huddle up, they've got to determine, okay, who do we think had possession? Because that determination, unless it's clear, is going to stand. So when the Buffalo Bills came out of the pile with the football, I would think they would side on the side of the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Because they came out of the pile with the ball.
Yeah, I would have thought that too. See, right there, Edmonds.
After review, the ruling on the field does stand. It'll be first down, Los Angeles. Buffalo is charged one timeout.
All right, so this goes to what you said, Steve. It's not confirmed. It stands.
The ruling stands because there's not clear evidence of recovery one way or the other, and it was ruled Chargers ball.
If it would have been ruled Bills ball, we would have
It
said
would have stayed with the Bills, right? And I happen to think it should have been ruled the Bills ball because of the fact that Bills came out of the pile with the ball.
So the Chargers get a break, up 21-3 with 6:27 to play here in the first half.
Hey, 48, Mike, 48. 380. Cut.
Rivers to the near side for Gordon. And Gordon is sandwiched by Edmonds and Raphael Bush. It's a gain of 7.
So Phillip Rivers and the Chargers really are picking on Tremaine Edmonds right now, the rookie. They're trying to find ways to isolate Melvin Gordon on him in that matchup. That was what happened on the touchdown, the last touchdown Melvin Gordon had, and it happened on that play right there. They're getting Tremaine Edmonds to step up and play the run and then have to cover Melvin Gordon on the flat.
The very talented rookie, Tremaine Edmonds, he's calling out the signals. You can see it right there. He has a lot on his plate. Sean McDermott said he's like a waiter, and he keeps having different things thrown onto his plate as he goes to serve the food. Rivers to the outside. Gordon again. And Gordon makes one man miss. And Jerry Hughes is eventually able to take him down.
Well, you look at Melvin Gordon, everybody never really looked at him as a receiver. He had 9 catches last week. He's got 4 already today. Really established himself as an all-around, all-purpose running back. Looks like he's got a little bit of a leg issue at this point right over there. We'll see if he comes back in. But what a threat, what a weapon he is.
You know, he said, I came from Wisconsin. All we did was run the ball. He said, but I would always practice with the receivers. And Keenan Allen told us, he goes, yeah, he's always trying to show me his technique. Here's Eckler. And Eckler bounces into Derek Watt, his teammate. Tremaine Edmonds makes the tackle. Well, we've talked about this as they look at Melvin Gordon on the sidelines and look at that knee. The red zone has been problematic the first 2 weeks.
Oh. 9 for 9. Just so it's for reference, the top NFL defenses will be down around between 30-35% success against. So offenses in the NFL are shooting for that 60% number. Defenses are shooting to keep it under 40. The Bills haven't stopped anybody yet.
Rivers to the middle. Pass is complete. And inside the 5-yard line is Keenan Allen.
Well,
that's where you see his quickness.
That was a beautiful route by Keenan. You see number 13 right there. Look at him fake outside and then just, again, picking on Edmonds. They're picking on the rookie. They're trying to get him isolated. He has not seen this kind of versatility in an offense. And you see the Chargers perfect in the red zone this year. That's not a good combination for the Buffalo Bills.
He is going to be a special player. There's no doubt about it. He comes from a football family. His dad, Pharrell, was a 2-time Pro Bowl tight ends. It'll be first and goal from inside the 5. Play clock down to 2. Tough snap for Rivers, and he just goes down. Trent Murphy will be credited with the tackle.
Philip Rivers doesn't like getting up jaw, and he's been known to talk a little trash. He didn't like the fact that he got jumped on here, I don't think.
Yeah, I think they were trying to rip the football out of his hands.
Yep.
36 years young.
Yeah, he's always had a little bit of that competitive streak in him. It shows up.
I love talking to him yesterday, man. He was moving a mile a minute. He's going to use a timeout, it looks like, with 2:48 left to play here in the first half.
Timeout. Los Angeles, their first. 30-second timeout.
We met with the Chargers yesterday, and you could just hear the knowledge coming out of Philip Rivers' mouth. So 2:48 to play here in the first half. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JV, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. 10 plays, 76 yards on this drive for Anthony Lynn's team.
Well, back to Philip Rivers, you talk about just that knowledge. He went down pretty much the whole Buffalo Bills defense. He gave us a little synopsis on each player.
I couldn't write fast enough. I was looking for a scouting report.
Yeah, he knew who was going to be in, who's going to be out, what their strengths, what their weaknesses were. Pretty impressive.
Second down and goal. Just outside the 5. Williams in motion. Flags come in. This play is blown dead. Looks like we have a false start.
False start. Offense number 69. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Sam Tebby, who's playing for the injured Joe Barksdale. Barksdale injured his right knee last week.
There's Tebby right there. Just, yeah, no doubt about it.
That's the other thing we haven't really talked about. The addition of Mike Pouncey helps this offensive line so much.
Yeah, center.
3-time Pro Bowler. They say he's been a huge influence in the locker room. He's been a huge influence in the offensive line room.
Only knock on him, he's had injury problems in the past. Only 3 times has he played a full schedule, but he is a football player.
Second and goal from the 10. Rivers in trouble, shovels it forward to Gordon, and Gordon is taken down inside the 5.
That was a heck of a job by Philip Rivers. He was trying to come out of that fake and find Keenan Allen in the top corner of the end zone. You see he makes a fake and he's looking to his left in the corner, but the pressure coming off the edge from Trent Murphy, and Rivers athletic enough, even though it doesn't always look very athletic enough to shuffle that ball to Melvin Gordon and have a nice positive play.
It's a nice bright spot for the Bills, though, that Trent Murphy got in there. You know, Murphy picked up from the Redskins where he was hurt most of last year. So he'll take it down to the 2-minute warning. 21-3, Los Angeles on top of Buffalo. Philip Rivers knocking on the door when we return.
The 2-minute warning.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. And by AARP. Take on today with AARP. Real possibilities.
Well, back here at Buffalo as we reach the 2-minute warning, it's third down and goal from the 3 for the Chargers. The guy that's been the most favorite receiver for Philip Rivers in these spots is Antonio Gates. .38-year-old.
Flexing him outside. That's a one-on-one matchup. Wouldn't be surprised.
They zip it to the outside, and it is caught. Touchdown Chargers.
Man.
Melvin Gordon again.
That was a throw that not many quarterbacks would make. But Philip Rivers said that Matt Milano can't see him, so therefore Melvin Gordon's open. When Philip Rivers sees Matt Milano's back, number 58, he knows that he can't make a play on the football, so he puts it right over his shoulder to Melvin Gordon. What a great throw, and a heck of a catch by Melvin Gordon as well.
And it looked like he had control going down. What a day for Melvin Gordon. Already 6 catches, 38 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he has 6 carries for 29 yards and a touchdown. So 3 touchdowns
total
combined.
touchdowns. Man, I wish I had him on my fantasy team.
I knew we'd get
What
to that
a
eventually.
day. Yeah, first half. Wow.
Caleb Sturgis on for the point after. And it is good. 28-3, Chargers on top of the Bills. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from AARP. Philip Rivers has 3 touchdown passes. He's 15 of 16, 178 yards. It's his 28th game with 3 or more touchdowns since 2013. That's the most in the National Football League. As he just hit Melvin Gordon for his 2nd touchdown reception and his 3rd touchdown overall on the day.
Now Rivers is top 10 in pretty much every offensive category, or every quarterback category.
Marcus Murphy will take a knee. And Josh Allen back to work. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report.
So this is very important for Josh Allen. Every series, it was Peyton Manning, I believe, that said, I learned a lot of football my rookie year in blowout type of situations where we were losing, but you learn a lot about how to play the game. And right here, Josh Allen can win his teammates over by staying, keeping his focus and trying to lead his team down the field for some points before the half.
He hitches to the right. Ooh, he zips it to the middle. See the arm strength. It was broken up by Derwin James diving in front of Charles Clay.
And this is one of those situations where, you know, I like taking a chance, but you'll see there's no safety over the top. If he puts a little bit of air on this ball up and over the top to Clay down the middle of the field, you got a chance to complete that. But you see that ball, he just rifles it and tries to go pretty much through the defender, and it's not going to happen at this level.
You tuck that away for later on if you're the Bills?
I think you do.
On 2nd down, he looks to the near sideline. And he's going long. He wobbles one inside the 25. Zay Jones has it.
Now, even though that wasn't a pretty pass, it was a wobbler, it was underthrown. That's the kind of thing you look for, though. He's here because he's a gunslinger. John Elway used to do that kind of stuff all the time. Just throw it up for grabs down late in the game or at the end of the half, try and make a play. I like the decision.
57-yard pass play. Allen to throw again. Breaks away on the run to the end zone. But it's incomplete, intended for Andre Holmes, excuse me. Melvin Ingram was all over Josh Allen, and he couldn't corral him. And now he's getting up slow. And once you take a knee like that, you're going to exit for at least a play to get checked out.
I really do love, though, taking the chances.
Los Angeles will be charged their 2nd timeout due to the injury under 2 minutes.
By Josh Allen, just taking a chance, understanding, hey, we need to have someone make a play. Right here you see Melvin Ingram selling out, trying to get Josh Allen. Landed on that shoulder. I wonder whether that's the issue or not, but you hope it's nothing serious for the Pro Bowler.
Well, he's done being checked out.
But Tom, now this is a situation where, seriously, this game is out of hand. The Buffalo Bills need to make a play right here. I would love to see Josh Allen take a chance, throw a ball that, maybe in a normal situation you wouldn't throw, and see if someone can make a play.
The snap never happened. Ryan Groy. Boy, look at that. Look at the emotion of John Miller. He's screaming, "Let's go. Let's go."
False start. Offense. Number 73. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
I think it's 72. I think it's Ryan Groy.
It's really the center didn't snap it. Yeah.
And John Miller to the right, 76. He just said, "Let's go." And he just started screaming. And I guess toward Groy.
Well, I think toward everybody.
Yeah.
I think that was directed toward everybody.
And we did see that at practice on Friday. Sean McDermott went after his offensive line a little bit at practice.
You can trace all of these kind of situations back to the young quarterback. In some way, shape, or form, there was confusion on that snap count. It probably was the quarterback's fault. I'm not saying I know that for sure, but it usually does fall back that way.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a little experience on that one. Second down and 15 from the 23. Charles Clay, and he has it close to the 15-yard line. 59 seconds to play. Chargers have one timeout left. They just used one because of that injury a moment ago. Buffalo has two left.
So again, you're never going to fault a completion right there. But that ball was not very accurate. Clay couldn't catch it and turn up the field. On the top of the field, the other side of the field, Kelvin Benjamin had a soft corner and just ran a short little hitch route. If Allen is looking for the best matchup, you throw it to Kelvin Benjamin and let him run over a defensive back out there.
Bills are 0 for 5 on third downs. Facing another one here. Allen steps up. He's being spun down. And Melvin Ingram seems to be healthy. That's the 4th sack of the day.
Yeah, untouched. And that was either a look
Timeout.
that caused
Los
problems for
Angeles,
the
their
Buffalo
third
Bills.
And final timeout.
But there's no way the best pass rusher on the field should not be blocked. Unobstructed to the quarterback, unabated to the quarterback, whatever you want to use the word. Melvin Ingram should always be blocked. There's no excuse for that. Now that could fall again on the rookie quarterback.
Not picking it up.
Turning the protection that way. These are things that people don't really understand. They don't see because they're not in the meetings. But the quarterback is responsible for telling the offensive lineman where to go at times.
That's 4 sacks today, Steve. 10 sacks now in 2 weeks for the opposition against the Bills. Hauschka for the field goal attempt, 41 yards. He's 1 for 1 today. Good snap, good hold. Kick is on its way, and it is good. 28-6. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from FanDuel. Gus Bradley chatting with Melvin Ingram on the sidelines.
I'm looking.
The defensive coordinator
Let
for the
Let it run again.
San Diego Chargers, or excuse me, Los Angeles Chargers. We talked to the defense about Gus Bradley, the former head coach of Jacksonville. He said, man, he is the same every day. Melvin Ingram said he comes in, Derwin James says he comes in, he's the same every day. Doesn't matter what the situation is. And we've grown to know that over the years. Let's take a look at that last sack of Josh Allen, Steve.
Yeah, what you're going to see, and this really, it does fall on the quarterback. You're going to get pressure off of this side. Right here is your running back, LaShawn McCoy. He's running a hitch route. That's got to be a hot adjustment by the quarterback. He knows they're bringing too many people. Throw it to this guy right here. It's a good quick throw. You have a completion, and your best football player one-on-one on the outside with a corner. That could be a touchdown. But those are the things that have to become automatic. You wonder why Melvin Ingram's running free to the quarterback? It's because they brought too many people.
And you see Josh Allen on the sidelines. He's talking to Brian Dable, the offensive coordinator. Now, they don't have a veteran, kind of like Sam Darnold has Josh McCown. They don't have a veteran that can kind of piece that together for them. I think the plan was that they would have a veteran, and A.J. McCarron, as Eckler takes it up to the 35.
Yeah, that was the intent. Brandon Beane, the general manager, had when they brought A.J. McCarron in. And we'll talk more about that in the second half.
Eckler again, he's got a first down. He just moves the pile close to the 40-yard line. That's his 6th carry in this first half for 72 yards.
They're just going to let it run out. Chargers now happy to go in with the 22-point lead.
Yeah, Philip Rivers said it's no big deal if you lose the first game. We can't go 0-4 like we did last year. They're up 28-6 as we roll into halftime here in Buffalo. So that's the end of the first half.
The end of the first half.
Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from our local station. Chargers on top 28-6 as we get set for the third quarter. Buffalo will receive the second half. Let's take a look at the first half highlight presented by DirecTV. Philip Rivers had a fantastic first half, and so did Melvin Gordon. This is one of his 3 touchdowns. This was an easy run. Philip Rivers also hit Gordon with 2 touchdown passes in the first half. All right, so inexperienced quarterback in Josh Allen, that was the one storyline. The other storyline was Philip Rivers, his 194th consecutive start, and he looked like the seasoned veteran.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie. It's been way too easy for Philip Rivers and the Chargers. This Buffalo Bills defense has not made it difficult on them at all day. And if they want to get back in the game, it's going to start with that defense making a couple of stops.
Yeah.
It just hasn't happened at this point.
Meanwhile, Josh Allen, obviously inexperienced. He's had an up and down first half, Steve.
He has, and he's shown flashes of why he was the 7th pick in the draft. He made some nice throws. Right there was one to the tight end, Clay, and then the big one down the field at the end of the half. Wasn't a thing of beauty, but he's going to take some chances, and Zay Jones pulled it in. But a lot of rookie miscues right there. Just you can tell that things are just not quite in sync. He's not quite sure what he's supposed to do in certain situations, but all of that is very normal and expected. It's up to this defense to keep the Buffalo Bills in the game where they don't get into a complete situation where they've got to throw the ball every down, because that's not fair to Josh Allen.
All right, so how do you think they will play this to begin the second half? Will they use LeSean McCoy and the same game plan?
I think they'll come out and feed LeSean McCoy and try to run the normal game plan, try to move the ball down the field, get some points on the board, make a ball game out of it.
McCoy had 6 touches in the first quarter, only 1 in the second quarter. As Murphy is taken down up close to the 25-yard line, Adrian Phillips makes the tackle. Here are the possessions in the first half for the Bills. 3 and out the first 2 times. Then they had the field goal, and then another 3 and out, and then a second field goal.
Now the positives are no turnovers. And that Josh Allen has not had an interception yet this year, knock on wood if you're a Bills fan, but that is encouraging. He's not being careless with the football.
8 of 14, 126 yards. First play of the second half. And the handoff goes to McCoy. He breaks the tackle at the line of scrimmage, but then Melvin Ingram slips over to make the tackle and finish him off. Isaac Rochelle was in the backfield, the second-year pro out of Notre Dame.
Well, this is the second or third time they've run that handoff out of the shotgun, and it doesn't seem to me like anybody's accounting for Josh Allen on that kind of read option. And we did see some of that in practice this week on Friday. It'd be nice to see him pull one of those and take it around the end and try to make some yards.
Would that make him even comfortable knowing he can do that, you think?
I think it would.
Here's McCoy again, sprints into the open field, and McCoy is inside Los Angeles territory. Derwin James shuttled him out of bounds. That's a big gain.
So I'm assuming that Sean McDermott gave his team an earful at halftime. I'm thinking that he really gave him a wake-up call, and they wanted to make a statement probably on this first drive right there. Nothing tricky about it, just a straight-ahead, smash-mouth football type of run, and that was a good positive result. Maybe they can get some positive things happening for Buffalo.
27-yard gain is the longest run of the season. With the play clock at 10, off the play fake, Allen to throw. To the right side, he has DeMarco, and DeMarco makes the catch. And he gets up and gets inside the 25-yard line. Jaleel Adai makes the tackle. It wasn't perfect for a 24-yard gain, but it was good enough.
But this is the thing. You got to. This guy is uncovered DeMarco down the sideline. Josh, just throw it to him in a way that he doesn't have to make the acrobatic catch. He might score a touchdown. That was a heck of a catch on what should have been an easy catch with a lot of yards to follow.
Marcus Murphy is back in the game. He'll take the fake, and Allen will run it. Just as Steve mentioned, And he dives forward to the 20-yard line, a gain of almost 5. A die makes the tackle.
And what that does, Tom, is it now makes the defense realize, okay, he might keep the ball now. So that will open up the give, and it will also create opportunities for Brian Daboll to do other things in this offensive scheme. Now the defense knows that Josh Allen's not afraid to run the football.
Allen's a big guy. He's 6'5", 237 pounds. We mentioned 22 years old. He's the youngest starting quarterback for the Bills since 1969. Out of the gun. Pressure's coming. He steps up and he'll go. And he's tripped up at the 6-yard line. A die makes the tackle.
Now this is something that you really can't coach. Now this is just pure strength and athletic ability. He missed the blitz. You're going to see pressure coming off the backside, but look at, he just runs right through the arm tackle, and all he's got in front of him is green grass. A nice pickup, and he made a mistake by not recognizing the blitz, but he's athletic enough to make the defense pay.
Gain of 14 yards. It'll be first and goal from the 6. Look at Benjamin. He's off to the outside. And Allen will take it himself. Quarterback keeper. And he's down to the 2. Justin Jones, the rookie at NC State, makes the tackle.
I love what Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, is doing here this second half. We saw a lot of this in practice on Friday. Designed quarterback runs, rollouts, and things like that to try to use his athletic ability. It simplifies the game plan for him, but it poses a threat to the defense that they have not seen yet today. It's a different look. It's a nice adjustment.
Marshall Newsome is the eligible receiver on the offensive line. Chris Ivory's in for the first time in the I formation. Off the play fake, Allen rolls to the right, looking for Clay. Looking to the back of the end zone, just throws it away. It's tipped and incomplete.
Penalty flag.
Yeah, Melvin Ingram, he had him by the collar as he was going down.
Personal foul. Horse collar tackle. Defense number 54. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
Yeah, Melvin Ingram knows better than that. That is the photo that's in the dictionary next to horse collar. Yeah. That's the picture right there. Can't get away with that.
Number 71 is eligible.
I think Josh Allen had a chance to throw that football earlier, though, to Charles Clay in the flat. It would have been nice to see him stick that on Clay right as he came out of the fake. That horse collar would never have happened. I think it would have had a touchdown.
So it'll be first and goal from the 1-yard line. Ivory remains in the ball game in the I. DeMarco is the fullback. Everybody's up to the line of scrimmage. A little bit of movement on the right side. The handoff goes to Ivory, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Bills. The first touchdown of the year for Buffalo.
Well, Tom, you're right. There was movement before the snap, I think. The officials missed it, and Buffalo is not going to even ask for any kind of forgiveness on it. You'll see the right guard moves just before the snap. That was John Miller, but the Bills will take it any way they can get it. Daddy Allen happy right there, yes.
That was a heck of a drive by the young man.
Well, that was important. Now the Bills are back in this ball game. It's now a 2-score game.
Here's the point after, and it's good. 28-13. Josh Allen orchestrates the first touchdown drive of the year and the first of many in his NFL career. Well, Josh Allen just orchestrated a drive where he had no third downs. It was 8 plays, 75 yards, 3 minutes and 54 seconds. He had a big run. LaShawn McCoy had a big run. And Chris Ivory went into the end zone for the touchdown. Kickoff goes out of the back of the end zone. Well, moments ago, we saw this earlier with Phillip Rivers, but this is a rookie quarterback trying to get his defense fired up.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's what you want to see out of your face of your franchise for the next, 10-plus years for sure. Obviously, if Buffalo Bills have their way, that's what it's going to be. But I love seeing that fire in the young quarterback.
Eckler in the backfield. Colquitt in motion. On first down, Rivers to throw. To the middle of the field, it's complete to Keenan Allen. I didn't think Keenan Allen was touched. I thought Edmonds jumped right over him. But he stopped and spotted at the 28. Short gain of 3.
So what the Bills have to do, it looks like San Diego's going to still try to find a way to just take advantage of the young rookie linebacker inside Edmonds. Right there, you see him jump over. But the Bills have to do a good job of breaking down and being in position to make those tackles after the short completions.
On second down, the handoff goes to Eckler again, and he is tripped up behind the line of scrimmage by Jerry Hughes.
And that's what you want to see out of your defense. When the offense comes through and does their part, opens up the second half, driving down the field, getting a touchdown, that should fire up the stadium, which it has, and it should fire up your defense, which it appears to have done as well. The defense's job now, if they can get a 3 and out, the Bills are going to think they're right back in this ball game.
Melvin Gordon checks back into the game on third down. Rivers drops back to pass. He's in trouble, and he's sacked at the 24. Trent Murphy, Lorenzo Alexander were in the neighborhood. There is a flag on the other side of the field. I think San Diego may have moved. No, it's going to be Buffalo. Excuse me, Los Angeles. I got to put a quarter into the jar.
Offside. Defense number 55 lined up in the neutral zone.
Wow.
5-yard penalty. Still third down.
It's going to be third down. Jerry Hughes is saying that they moved.
Let's see. Now, I think they're both on the snap.
Boy, Jerry Hughes is not happy about
No,
that.
it's not. And that's a big play. They have to forget about it, though, and be firm at the point of attack. They got to make a stand right here, this defense.
Third down and 1. Play clock is down to 2, now 1. And Rivers needs a timeout.
Timeout. Los Angeles, their first. 30-second timeout.
All right, I thought Russell Okung jumped or moved a little bit quick on this one. And that's what drew Jerry Hughes. It's so close.
You can't call that. You can't call
you
that.
just let it go. I thought both moved.
It's absolutely, I mean.
Okung is the 9th-year veteran, and he's had a heck of a career.
But Jerry Hughes has got a good argument right there. I don't think you can throw that flag.
Third down and 1. Gordon to the near sideline. Rivers looking left, throws left, incomplete. It'll be fourth down.
Well, that was a really nice job by Tre'Davious White. You saw Phillip Rivers wanted to make the quick throw up there to his left-hand side. He thought he was going to have a lane, but I think the coverage got him. Tre'Davious White was playing inside man-to-man coverage, which to me says too deep man-to-man. Those in-breaking routes are hard to throw into that coverage. I think they fooled Phillip Rivers for the first time today.
Marcus Murphy back deep to receive at his 15. Drew Kaiser on the punt. Oh, this is a beautiful punt. Murphy inside the 10. He fumbles the football. It's in the end zone. And the Chargers are going to nail Taiwan Jones in the end zone, and there's flags everywhere. Taiwan Jones lost his hat, and he got smoked. Michael Davis is the one who knocked the football loose. Murphy should have called for a fair catch.
He should have called for a fair catch. Bad decision right there, but there was never clear possession.
No.
As soon as the ball hit him, he was destroyed.
That's why there was no signal for anything, to be honest with you.
They were signaling touchback in the end zone, which
Right.
I think the proper call.
Because it went out of the back of the end zone.
Went out of the back of the end zone, although
it was kicked. Yeah, see right there, Taiwan Jones had it.
But it was touched by the receiving team before the recovery, which means there was a change of possession. As soon as it touches the receiving team, that becomes a live ball. So now it goes into the end zone.
Well, let's hope that Taiwan Jones is okay. He did lose his hat.
Yeah, we have to remember that there's a player hurt in the end zone.
Yeah,
sure.
Taiwan Jones is being tended to now. And both teams are concerned. His teammates obviously are. He's up on his feet. The helmet gets knocked off. Usually the play is blown dead, but there was still activity. And here's Clay Martin. They've talked about it. Let's see what he says now that Taiwan is up on his feet. You're right. They did signal that it was a touchback.
They did. I don't know if that's the correct signal. We need to see how it's interpreted.
Yeah, that's why they conferred. The Chargers think it's a safety.
And I would be thinking the same thing.
I would too. All right, well, here we go. Clay Martin, the referee, as Jones goes back into the locker room.
Ruling on the field that the ball was recovered in the end zone while still in kick status. The result of the play is a touchback.
Okay.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, Los Angeles number 42. That 15-yard penalty will be added from the 20-yard line. First down, Buffalo.
Well, 28-13, Buffalo will get the football back. We'll sort it all out when we return.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. NFL Sunday Ticket on DirecTV. And by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you.
Buffalo will have it on the 35-yard line. It was a touchback, and then the penalty on Nwosu. Gene Steratore, NFL rules analyst, is joining us from New York. Gene, what did you see on that particular play?
Two really tight decisions by the officials on this play, guys. The first one is the reception of the punt, similar to a catch because we're receiving a play, and that's a bang-bang play, not long enough to make a football move, so they're leaving that as an extension of the kick then because we didn't have a possession change. There it's just now a punt. So now when a teammate picks this up, by rule, when his helmet comes off, a runner's helmet comes off, he is dead by rule at that time. Now the contact that occurs to number 26 after his helmet comes off is a dead ball foul.
Gene, thank you. That was excellent explanation. Here's Josh Allen, and Allen up 3 or 4 yards. So Nwosu is the one who made the hit. The back judge was signaling that the play was dead when Taiwan Jones's helmet came off. And I think what Gene said is what you alluded to a moment ago, Steve, that it's an extension of the play. There was not a possession on the punt.
Right.
So that's why it was ruled a touchback initially.
The part that's confusing is it's a live ball, though.
Correct.
It's a live ball when it goes in because it did touch the offensive player. The other question I have is whether the gunner who made the hit on that play gave the receiver enough room to catch the ball. It was a bang-bang play.
On second down, McCoy is stopped at the line of scrimmage. Melvin Ingram makes the tackle. Boy, it's nice to have Gene Steratore, longtime official for the National Football League, who's joining us this year. Melvin Ingram with a beautiful tackle.
Yeah.
So this is an important third down, momentum-wise. Buffalo has not converted one this afternoon. 0 for 6.
And last week, by the way, they did not have one in the first half either.
And they picked it up early in the second half. Allen has time. Lofts it for Benjamin, who's got it. To the 45 of Los Angeles, Desmond King in on the coverage.
Well, the Chargers
with Casey Hayward.
The Chargers actually have pretty good coverage with King underneath right there, and over the top help from Casey Hayward, but that ball thrown right on time in the perfect spot to Benjamin. Nice to see him involved. And a good throw by Josh Allen.
Heading toward the 7-minute mark here in the third quarter. Allen 10 of 17, 166 yards. Pressure's coming. And he is wrapped up and taken down by Derwin James. That's the 5th sack of the day for the Chargers. And it moves Buffalo to the 49.
And that's a safety. Okay, Derwin James is a safety coming up and playing in the line of scrimmage. That has got to alert Josh Allen to this is not normal. If a safety comes up off the edge, which you're going to see him coming off the outside there, that is a situation where that guy's not blocked. The quarterback has to know that's a free man coming. He's got to get rid of the football much more quickly than not take the sack.
Second down at 16. Allen dumps it off to McCoy. McCoy one-on-one. And he spun down at the 45. Denzel Perryman, the 4th-year pro out of Miami.
That's a nice tackle by Perryman. When you get LaShawn McCoy the ball on the wing on the swing pass like that, and with that much green grass between him and the defender, there are very few guys that are going to make that tackle one-on-one in the open field.
All right, so now it's back to a 3rd and 10 with under 6 to play in the 3rd quarter. And the Chargers, they're going to bring a bunch. Here they come. And a pass incomplete. Andre Holmes was the intended receiver. He had to come back for it a little bit, but it spun out of his hands.
It wasn't a great pass as far as location, but I like the way he was decisive, got rid of the ball quickly. They were coming with pressure again. I think he went to the right guy. He's got to make a little bit better throw. That ball, also LaShawn McCoy made the comment that receivers have to make the tough catches and running backs have to break tackles. Right there, Holmes, that's one he could have caught, even though it wasn't a great pass.
Desmond King is back deep to receive with J.J. Jones. And Jones calls for the fair catch. 28-13, Chargers on top. We'll be back with 5:33 to play in the 3rd quarter. Saturday, the best game for the best conference. The SEC on CBS features Texas A&M getting set to take on #1 Alabama. They got a 20-game home win streak. The day kicks off with college football today, bringing you all the latest news and highlights beginning at 3 Eastern on CBS. Well, it's Steve Berline. I'm Tom McCarthy here in Buffalo. 28-13. Los Angeles on top of the Bills. 3 and out the last time for the Chargers. Only the 2nd one for Rivers, who's 16 of 18 for 182 yards. Bills showing blitz. Rivers has it tipped high in the air, and it's caught and then dropped. Lorenzo Alexander tipped it, and then it was a free football.
Well, that's the kind of play that the Buffalo Bills need. You had a chance, ball up in the air like that. You got to find a way to come down with that football. Nice job by Virgil Green going up and trying to rip it away. I like the pressure, though, that Buffalo is bringing off the edges, too. You don't want to let Phillip Rivers have too much time sitting back in that pocket.
Tyrell Williams in motion. The pitch goes to Gordon. Running left. And Gordon spun down close to the 15. It's a short gain of 3. Ramon Humber makes the tackle for the Bills.
Well, I think that was a very good play call by the Chargers. Try to catch the Bills, maybe bring in some pressure. If they could have got to the edge, it would have been a big play, but the Bills were up to the task, ran it down on the sideline, only 3 yards on the play.
It's a deceptive 2 for 4 on 3rd down because Rivers was moving the ball so fluidly in the first half. He didn't have many 3rd downs with all those points he was scoring. Play clock down to 5. On 3rd down, pressure's coming from behind. Jerry Hughes rips him down.
Well, nothing fancy here. Jerry Hughes been doing this for a lot of years. Coming off that backside of the quarterback. Russell Okung right here just doesn't account for the speed around the edge. Phillip Rivers had no chance. That's a big play at a big time for the Buffalo Bills.
3rd punt of the day for Kaiser. Murphy back at his 35. And Murphy's going to get good field position. He comes running up. He muffed it initially, but he picks it up off the turf. And to the 42-yard line. Adrian Phillips made the special teams tackle. Well, the Bills needed a stop. They have back-to-back 3 and outs. And their celebration takes us to ring.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Sonic. This is how you Sonic. And by FedEx. Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
Well, take a look at Josh Allen's last 10 pass attempts. He's 6 of 10 for 117 yards. That includes 3 of 5 in the second half, but he also has run for 33 yards in the second half. It's first down for the 42. That's Benjamin in motion. Allen to throw. Looking long, looking toward the end zone, and it is knocked away. It was intended for Robert Foster, and Casey Hayward was there to knock it away. You like that, though?
What was I telling you in the intermission? I said, this is the time when you get the ball between the 35 and 45-yard line on a change of possession, that the offense calls those opportunities for a shot play. Take a shot, make something happen. I love going for the end zone on that play. Well defended by the Chargers, but I like the fact that they went after the jugular on that play.
This is the best starting field position of the day for the Bills. The previous best was the Buffalo 35. McCoy runs right, and McCoy is nailed down at the line of scrimmage. Denzel Perryman.
McCoy might be hurt there. One of his big offensive linemen got driven right back on his rib cage on that play. And after the whistle, that was that didn't look good.
30-year-old LaShawn McCoy.
I think it was Ryan Groy that got driven back right onto him. Right here, you'll see he lands right on his rib cage right there. That's a lot of weight coming down on that rib cage.
It's 320 pounds, moving quickly.
Hopefully it's just the wind knocked out of him. That's, you don't ever want to speculate on that, but he is not feeling good right now.
Bills have 3 running backs. We've seen all 3. McCoy is the lead back, and then Marcus Murphy, the third-year pro out of Missouri, and Chris Ivory, who has scored a touchdown today. But there's not many that are better than LaShawn McCoy. Last year he was 32% of the team's offense. Well, he is sitting up, chatting with the athletic training staff.
It's great to see him walking off the field.
The Chargers coming over like Derwin James, patting him on the helmet. Craig Hayward Jr. All right, so 3rd and 9 at the 41. I know you don't want to settle for a field goal, but you have to at least get within Stephen Hauschka's field goal range.
Yeah, and that line is usually for most offenses. You say, let's get the ball to the 35-yard line. Hauschka's got a pretty strong leg. He's made a lot of 50-plus field goals in his short career.
Perfect weather.
Perfect weather. The wind's not even blowing out there on the field. So you want to get 5 or 6 yards ideally. Obviously, you want to get the first down, keep the ball going. But at least 4 or 5 yards to give Hauschka a chance.
Marcus Murphy replaces LaShawn McCoy. They try to draw him. They may have, and this play is blown dead.
And I don't like this new rule that they've come up with where they're stopping the ball on these encroachment penalties against the defense. They're stopping the play if they can get it stopped before the snap.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That used to be a situation where quarterbacks would be able to take a free shot down the field and try and make a play, which is exactly what Josh Allen was doing right there. Now they're stopping it if it's clear that there's that encroachment before the snap.
Nwosu is called for the penalty. You saw number 42. One of the rookies for the Chargers. He's had an impact today. They have 4 rookies on the defensive front that have had an impact these first couple weeks. On 3rd down and 4 after the penalty. Allen, pockets collapsing. He's under pressure, and he is being dragged down as he throws, and it's intercepted at the 35-yard and he was going down, but he just didn't go down.
Chargers are, they're not thinking they scored.
Yeah, they're doing a little celebrating.
Fun, yeah. That was, I know Josh Allen was just trying to make a play for his team right there, but with the 5-yard penalty they got on the previous play, that did move them into range, better range for Hauschka. That's not a ball you just kind of throw up for grabs. I'm not faulting him for taking a chance. I just think a smarter decision would have been to throw it away.
I think it's amazing that he didn't go down. Adrian Phillips with the interception. Yeah. It's the first takeaway for the Los Angeles Chargers this year, and they have it first down. And now Phillip Rivers hands it off to Gordon. And Gordon gets back to the line of scrimmage. Lorenzo Alexander makes the tackle. Benjamin wanted this pass.
Yeah,
he was wide open. At least it seemed like he was.
Yeah,
probably guys in the territory.
Hard to tell where that safety was, but he's a big target. You put it up high on him, let him try and make a play. I agree. They don't give him enough chances. At least we've seen so far this year for 2 games to go up and make plays, use his biggest attribute to their advantage.
This Chargers offense has been slowed a little bit here in the second half. Off the play fake, and Rivers is going to be sacked again. The ball is loose. Lorenzo Alexander picks it up.
The referee is saying it was blown dead.
Yeah.
Ruling on the field as the quarterback's forward progress was stopped. There is no fumble, third down.
That is a new point of emphasis this year.
I do think it's interesting. We just saw Josh Allen getting dragged down by Melvin Ingram.
Right.
And he was not in the grasp. And here, Phillip Rivers is in the grasp.
Well, Josh Allen was still moving. He was carrying the man on his back. Right here, Rivers, he's under pressure. He's going down. And his knees might have even been down before that ball came out.
That's a good call. Now it's third down and 16. Out of the gun is Rivers. Throws to the middle. Pass is complete to Keenan Allen. At the 31-yard line, the Bills are saying it was incomplete. And it'll be fourth down. The Chargers will bring the punt team onto the field.
Well, the Buffalo defense is doing a good job. They're doing their job, not allowing a first down in the second half.
Here's Kaiser. Under a minute to play in the third quarter. Oh, this is not a good punt. Off the side of his foot. And it's out of bounds inside the 35-yard line. Chargers are a little fortunate there. All right, Josh Allen goes back to work. We've been talking about first career starts. Well, back on September 4th, 1988, Chargers at the Raiders. Steve Berline was 17 of 29 for 171 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did catch a 21-yard reception from Marcus Allen. Oh, Tim Brown had a 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Raiders won 24-13. All right, let me ask you something. That had to hurt, that tackle.
It hurt. That was the first game of my career, and I got a reception. It was the only reception I had my whole career. But boy, I brag about that play all the time.
Looked like a receiver.
And you wouldn't want to be Keith Browner because I beat him down the sideline on that play. There aren't many people I can outrun down the sideline. So, yeah, Marcus Allen put it right on the money.
LaShawn McCoy checks back in with a run, and that'll be the final play of this third quarter.
That's good to see for Buffalo, too.
Absolutely. So, it is 28-13 Chargers. We'll return to Buffalo after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, the home of Super Bowl 53. Well, back here in Buffalo, it's the end of the third quarter. As we begin the fourth quarter, 28-13. The Los Angeles Chargers on top of the Bills. Los Angeles has been held scoreless in the second half thanks to the Bills defense really stepping up. On second down, Ivory in the game. Allen hands it off to Ivory, running left, breaks through a hole. And he's about a yard shy of the first down. Kaiser White, the rookie out of West Virginia, who's making the adjustment from safety to linebacker and seems to be making it flawlessly.
Number 71 is reporting eligible. 71.
All right, so now third and short. And we talked on Friday. Everybody that came into the room said this is the goal. Third and short. Third and manageable, no third and 10s, third and 20s.
Chris Ivory's a pretty good back to have in there as far as power running. Josh Allen keeps it on the sneak and makes it easily.
Up to the 45-yard line.
Well, it's a nice luxury to have as a quarterback, 6'5", 240 pounds. That makes doing that quarterback sneak a little bit easier.
Marshall Newhouse remains eligible, an extra lineman. 172 passing yards, 32 rushing yards for Josh Allen. Off the play fake. Allen has time in the pocket, throws underneath. Jason Croom is nailed by Derwin James, another one of those rookies. I tell you, they're rookies on defense. They are going to make an impact.
They are. Hey, look at this play right here. I love the call. You got your big people in there. You're going to go with the hard play action and set up. You only got 3 receivers getting out, but you're trying to get the defense overplaying. Great job by the Chargers defensively. Nowhere for Josh Allen to go with that football. We're talking about young defensive players. They got several on this defense.
Yeah.
They were not affected by that play.
Allen pumps once. He throws it underneath to Allen, or excuse me, to Ivory, and Ivory kicks it. Kaiser White in on the coverage. Let's head to JB in New York for an update.
Mahomes with weapons.
It is a shootout in Pittsburgh. You're going to see Patrick Mahomes find DeMarcus Robinson from 2 yards out. His 5th touchdown on the day. He only has 3 incomplete passes, 9 touchdowns on the year. Now they take the lead back right now from Pittsburgh 35 to 28.
Steve Berline has to agree. It's pretty good, huh? Back to Tom McCarthy.
Exactly right. This kid, he can play.
We
No doubt about it.
Anthony Lynn didn't want to talk too much about last week's game, but the Chargers really impressed with Mahomes. Allen runs away. Flags come in. Breaks away from one tackler. Throws to the far side, and it is incomplete. Intended for Andre Holmes. Derwin James was the one chasing Allen around.
Yeah, he came on the blitz.
Offense number 73. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
This is what Derwin James brings to the table, though. Watch him come from here right up the gut and just runs over the running back. Marcus Murphy just drives him right back into Josh Allen and then almost makes the play. But that is a very physical safety coming right up the gut, right in Josh Allen's face.
Tom Telesco, the GM of the Chargers, who selected him in the first round, was very surprised that he fell to the Chargers. He said, listen, he was on the board. We liked him. We just didn't think he was going to be there at that point. Punt bounces inside the 15. Now the 5, and they let it go too much. They waited too long and got greedy, and it's a touchback.
That is inexcusable. You hit it right, Tom. That is greedy, and the coach is going to tell him, hey, stop that ball at the 5-yard line.
28-13, Chargers with the football when we return to Buffalo. Well, it's not been the same second half for Philip Rivers and the Chargers. They only have 4 yards of offense in this second half. 288 overall. Philip Rivers first and 10 from the 20. Here comes the blitz from the Bills. They've been pressuring all second half, and Tyrell Williams underneath has a first down and much more out across the 35 to the 38-yard line.
Well, give Ken Wisenhunt some credit there. I think it's the 3rd time the Bills have come out and pressured on first down in this second half. You see the possessions from the Chargers there. The second half, 3 punts, all 3 and outs. But Wisenhunt, right, I think, is getting a little bit of rhythm. He felt that there was going to be pressure on that first down play, and he called the right, dialed up the right play. Tyrell Williams makes a nice gain.
3rd catch for Williams, 48 yards. That's a gain of 18.
Hey, Rushfield, 949, Rushfield. One coming, Rushfield. One coming.
Play clock down to 1. And Melvin Gordon is just swallowed up by Lorenzo Alexander.
That was a case of just not enough time on the clock. I think Philip Rivers tried to do a little too much on that play. And every once in a while that happens. I would never accuse Philip Rivers of doing anything wrong by trying to get his team in the right play, but the clock was running down. It was a little bit too chaotic, and we got Melvin Gordon down.
Yeah, we talked to Melvin yesterday. He said he's 100% healthy. It's the healthiest he has been, even though he played all 16 games last year. He takes this handoff and is smothered immediately by Lorenzo Alexander. Don't forget, earlier he was pointing to his knee. He did take a hit at the end there, too.
That might have been a knee to the head right there at the end, because it didn't look like he went down too hard. It's that second guy coming in over the top.
Yeah, it's Raphael Bush.
Yep.
Melvin Gordon, who came into this year saying he wanted to be a complete player. And we saw that last week against the Chiefs. We've seen that today, although quiet in the second half compared to the first. Said he kind of readjusted his offseason program. And as he's gotten older, he's watched a lot of people and learned what's the right things to do and the wrong things to do. Anthony Lynn greets him as he comes to the sidelines. Hopefully this is just a one play off for Melvin. Eckler checks back in. They'll move him in motion. Newsome is in the backfield as well. That's the first time today for Newsome. Rivers throws. Keenan Allen has it at midfield.
Man, what a great throw. That ball, this is the difference in the NFL, and Josh Allen will learn this as you go along, but this ball had to be thrown exactly on time on Keenan Allen's body in order to get this completion. Otherwise, if that ball's not put right on him like that, he's running into a headache. He's got 3 Buffalo Bills. That ball's being threaded in between. It had to be right where it was, exactly when it got there. That's why Philip Rivers is the Hall of Famer.
Gain of 16 yards. Virgil Green in motion. On 1st and 10. Eckler. And Eckler's wrapped up and taken down from behind. That is Harrison Phillips, the rookie out of Stanford. Eckler now with 75 yards on the ground. There's Phillips. 3rd round, 2nd team All-American out of Stanford.
There he is down here on the bottom again. They're not afraid to use him in the pass game.
Yeah, Eckler's got great hands. Out of the gun on 2nd down. And it's Virgil Green who has stood up and then breaks a tackle and has a 1st down. And the ball is on the ground, even though the Bills had recovered it. Kyle Williams was there to make the hit.
Well, this was a trap coverage on the outside by Buffalo. They actually got
on
the
the field
throw.
was a 1st down, with the ball coming out after he was touched out of bounds.
Pitts was right there. They actually wanted that ball to be thrown to Virgil Green, and the fans think that ball might have been coming out early. Let's see. Is there going to be another challenge here?
Sean McDermott has the flag in his hands, and he's thrown it. Well, he was really close to the sidelines on that one, Steve.
Did that ball, did the ball hit? Is his elbow out of bounds? The ball's coming loose. Boy.
It's really close.
It is. The question is the ball coming loose before the elbow hits out of bounds?
Buffalo is challenging the ruling on the field. The previous play is now under review.
So let's slow it down.
The ball looks like it's coming out before he goes to the sidelines.
It did look like that.
We'll see what the decision is from New York when we return to Buffalo.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network. Pizza Hut, official pizza sponsor of the NFL. And by the well-connected 2019 Lincoln MKC.
After review, the ruling on the field has been confirmed. The runner's left elbow was touching out of bounds while he was touching the ball. It will be 1st down. Buffalo has no more challenges.
Buffalo has no more challenges. Let's bring in Gene Steratore,
Are they saying
NFL
he was
rules
down?
analyst.
I can speak to this.
What do you think
Buffalo
there,
was
Gene?
also charged their second timeout.
Gene, what do you think on that particular play? The ruling was that the elbow was out of bounds.
Correction, that is Buffalo's first timeout. They are out of challenges.
The ruling was the elbow was out of bounds
Before the ball came loose.
What do you think there, Gene?
The elbow is definitely out of bounds, and truthfully, guys, whether it's in his possession or not, if he's fumbling that and still touching the ball after he's even fumbled, it's a fumble out of bounds. So
there you go.
Whether he's in possession or whether he isn't, if he's touching the ball and it's out of bounds, last in possession by himself, it's still his football as a fumble out of bounds.
All right, Gino. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
There you go.
Gene Steratore, NFL rules analyst. Bills are out of challenges. They have 2 timeouts left. Chargers with 2 as well. Virgil Green in motion. And Eckler. Actually, that is Newsome, I should say. And Newsome wrapped up by Edmonds. No gain. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Yeah, and that elbow was what I was having trouble with. The elbow, the play ends as soon as the elbow hits the ground out of bounds. And so, and especially because it was ruled, it was ruled down by contact. They're not going to overturn that anyway.
Right, as Gene said, once the elbow's out of bounds, the ball is out of bounds.
Right.
2nd down and 10. Melvin Gordon is back in the game. The pitch, though, goes to Eckler, and Jerry Hughes and a bunch of Bills will throw him down at the 39. Let's go to JB in New York for another update.
Tom and Steve, this seems like a repeat.
It's an NFL record. You're going to see right here the 10th touchdown in the first 2 weeks, 29 yards of Tyreek Hill. Numbers on the day, 20 of 23, 309 yards, 6 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns, no interceptions first 2 weeks. They lead Pittsburgh 42-28 in the 4th quarter.
Erline, what did you put in his drink? My gosh. Back to Tom McCarthy.
In my wildest dreams. I mean, what a start for this kid's career.
Great arm. Great arm. It's 3rd down. Play clock to 2. Rivers dumps it off. Eckler is slow. Breaks a couple of tackles. And is eventually down to the 35-yard line. Trent Murphy will make the final hit. All right, so what do the Chargers do here?
They're going to kick a field goal. It's about a 53-yarder. Ball's on the, actually it's only about a 51-yarder if the ball is placed on that 33-yard line.
Oh, looks like they're going to go for it.
I'm a little surprised. They might be trying to draw them off sides. I'd be surprised if they didn't kick a field goal here.
It's 4th down and 6, or less than 6, 4th and 4.
They're going to take a timeout.
Play clock is down to 7, now 6. Rivers looks over to the sidelines.
I'd be surprised if they didn't kick the field goal here.
Yeah, the kicking team is coming out onto the field.
They're going to punt it. They're going to punt it.
Wow.
Offense, number 17. 5 yards penalty.
So I wonder why they didn't take a timeout there. Stay tuned for the NFL Today update delivered by Pizza Hut. That is time permitting.
Well, they didn't take a timeout because they wanted more space for the punt.
No, I'm saying it, so they didn't think they could get the field goal.
That's why they don't trust Sturgis in this situation. There's no wind blowing nothing real measurable. I mean, the flags are blowing a little bit on the top of the stadium. Inside the stadium, wind is not a factor. I think just the rookie quarterback is what Anthony Lynn is making a statement about. It's still a 2-score game.
Ball bounces inside the 5-yard line. It's loose, and the Bills touched it. And I think the Chargers may have recovered. Let's see who came out of the pile.
I agree with you. That ball should have been not been touched at all by the Bills.
Now the Chargers may have touched it first, which means that it can't be a turnover.
The Chargers did touch it
All right,
first.
so that's what it is then, and it's not a turnover.
Right. The Bills can then come in and try to advance the ball.
I wasn't sure if the Chargers had touched it.
Yeah, they did. They as they were jumping into the end zone, there was a group of about 2 or 3 of them.
I thought it just bounced.
Right there.
Oh yeah, they did throw it.
Now the question is, the first to touch it, his foot was in the end zone initially, so I think it might actually be a touchback.
Well, that's what the officials look like they're talking about right now.
Ball be placed at the spot of first touching. Timeout.
All right, so it'll be just inside the 1-yard line. 28-13. Chargers
he's
on
on the
top of
line.
the Bills.
Number 71 has reported eligible. 71.
7 minutes, 11 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. The Bills have the football. LeSean McCoy is questionable to return with a rib injury. Chris Ivory is in the end zone as the lone back in the backfield, and there was movement on the right side of the offensive line. Looked like Jordan Mills.
False start. Offense number 79. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
All right, let's look at the punt one more time because
At the end,
Clay Martin said it was the
Number
second
71
touch.
is
yeah. Now watch. You see Eckler in the end zone. He's the second to touch. I think 31.
Adrian Phillips.
Phillips was the first to touch. The second to touch was Austin Eckler, and he was in the end zone. So to me,
First down, Allen to throw, and it's intercepted. Kaiser White at the 25-yard line. And he's out of bounds inside the 20. There is a flag on the far side.
so I think that punt decision, the field position was a big factor here. Now, I believe that should have been, if Sean
Touchback.
McDermott had a challenge left, which he doesn't, they could have challenged that spot, because I think the second player that touched it was in the end zone. That would have been ruled a touchback.
But as you mentioned, they are out of challenges. The Bills are. So Kaiser White picked up the interception, the first of his NFL career.
And the first interception, or second interception of the day for Josh Allen.
Allen 1 for his last 7 with the 2 INTs. The flag is sitting inside the 30.
There is no foul on the play for a blindside block. First down, Los Angeles.
So Los Angeles will have the football with excellent field position. Yeah, they will spot it. It looks like they're going to spot it inside the 17-yard line.
So you see Josh Allen, look, he's just kind of staring it down. This is one that, especially backed up in your own end zone, you don't want to try to take a chance. So that ball's got to be up and over the top where only your player can get it or nobody gets it. The bottom line is at this point in the game, I don't mind him taking a chance. You just got to miss it in the right place.
Yeah, Jason Kroom was the intended receiver. You saw the block. He was hit. It wasn't a blindside. And Philip Rivers hands it off to Eckler, and Eckler gets a yard to the 15-yard line. Eddie Yarbrough makes the tackle.
Now there's still over 6 minutes left in this ball game. You know, if the Bills can get some kind of a turnover, it's really the only way. Any points by the Chargers at this point make it a 3-score game.
Yeah, the Chargers last possession punted. Don't forget, they've had so many field goal issues dating back to last year.
Oh, yeah.
That cost them so much. They were more comfortable to punt with, as you said, Steve, a rookie quarterback to deal with. Rivers dumps it off to the near side for Eckler. And Eckler's down to the 10-yard line. Yarbrough again with the tackle. Gain of close to 5. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
Well, that was one of those little misdirection screen passes, and Eckler, more times than not, is going to make that first tackle miss. That was a good job by Bush, who's now the player hurt on the field.
Well, they're taking a look at Bush now at the 11-yard line. Rivers will head over to his side of the field. As we said, warm day today, temperatures in the low 80s and even warmer on the field. We were down on the field on Friday and the temperature was basically the same, and it was hot. And we were just standing there.
Yeah, this is the hottest couple of days I've ever spent in Buffalo. I'll tell you that. It's beautiful here, but very warm down on the field.
All right, so Bush working out what looked like be a cramp will head off to the field. The Chargers stay with Eckler. We mentioned before, Melvin Gordon, there he is. He walked off before. And then came back in for one play, but it's been Eckler on this drive. On 3rd down and 4. Rivers to the middle, and it's Allen, who is inside the 5 to the 1. He's got a first down, so it'll be first and goal. A gain of 9 yards.
And that's a big play for the Chargers right there. You keep the ball, planning on finishing off with 7 points here. Not going to settle for his Sturgis field goal.
And a quick snap with the handoff to Eckler, and he is met in the middle, trying to drive forward, and not much there. He gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a half yard.
Now, I'm surprised by going with the quick hurry up there. Why would you not let the time run off the clock? I know the purpose of going on the quick, can't get up the ball with no huddle, is to catch the defense before they can set up. But right now, time is really what you're concerned with. Let the clock run out.
Yeah, Mike Pouncey's ready to go. It'll be second and goal from outside the 1. Under 5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Chargers trying to get to 1-1. Whistle blows. This play blown dead. There were 3 flags thrown from the backside. Sounds like there was too many men on the field for the Bills.
12 men on the defense, half the distance, still second down.
So it'll be second down. They'll move the ball inside the 1-yard line, or right around the 1-yard line. Great third quarter for the Bills defensively. Josh Allen did a lot of really good things. This fourth quarter hasn't been as smooth on either front.
No, and that's the pressure picks up. You know, the urgency picks up because you got to start making plays.
And no points for the Chargers, but still it hasn't been as smooth as the third quarter.
No.
Second and goal from the 1. Rivers drops the snap. Eckler falls on top of it. That'll be third down.
Pouncey, the hard low snap. That was a knuckleball. That's a tough snap to control. Eckler very alertly just fell on top of that. You got to come out of this drive with some points to make it a 3-score game.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, if you're the Chargers, if you get a field goal, okay, but this has not been a great second half.
No, it hasn't. It's been a very unimpressive second half by the Chargers.
And a very crisp first half for them. They have trips to the far side on third and goal. Rivers back in the end zone trying to get Gates. And he overthrew him. That would have been the 88 touchdown reception for Gates from Phillip Rivers, which is a remarkable.
Yep.
Those two have been such a tandem.
Would have been his 115th TD on his career. He's 6th on the all-time list, most ever by a tight end.
And we asked Phillip if he was surprised that he came back. He goes, I was texting him all preseason.
Yeah.
He said, I think he just feels like we have something special here.
You talk about a security blanket. Yeah, Antonio Gates coming back because he believes the Chargers have a chance to make a run.
Sturgis on for the 24-yard field goal attempt. And it's a chip shot. And it's now 31-13. Los Angeles on top of Buffalo. Coming up next, our doubleheader day continues with most of you seeing a rematch of last season's AFC Championship with Tom Brady driving the Patriots into Jacksonville to battle Blake Bortles and the Jags, while some of you will see an AFC West showdown when Oakland takes on Denver. Let's see, you played for Jacksonville, you played for Oakland, you played for Denver.
Yeah.
You ran the gamut.
I ran the gamut, never played for New England. That's one of the few teams I didn't get to put the uniform on for. Actually, only 6 teams, but 3 of those 6 were on that graphic right there.
Well, there's Phillip Rivers, 23 of 27, 256 yards. He's played his entire career with the Los Angeles Chargers, San Diego Chargers, and Los Angeles Chargers.
Well, you know the difficulty West Coast teams traveling east. And I think just coming out with a win, they really came out ready to play the first half. Give credit to Buffalo in the second half.
Hey,
they shut them down.
Yeah, West Coast teams have won just 3 of the last 18 games on the East Coast. All right, so Josh Allen will go back out to work. Now, Allen is the latest quarterback for the Buffalo Bills just this year. I mean, think back to March. Tyrod Taylor traded to the Cleveland Browns on the 9th of March. Then the 14th, A.J. McCarron was signed to a 2-year deal. Allen was then drafted. And then on the 1st, after preseason, McCarron's traded to Oakland for a 5th-round draft pick. On the third, Nathan Peterman, who had a very good preseason, was named the starter. And then Josh Allen named the starter this week for the Bills. I think they expected that A.J. McCarron would be more of an impact and could allow them to have Josh Allen sit for his first year in the NFL.
Well, I had a conversation with Brandon Beane, the general manager for the Bills, as we watch Allen pick up about 5. And they'll go 2 minute now. But Brandon Beane, he admitted that A.J. McCarron was not what they thought he would be. And so he didn't feel like, and remember, A.J. McCarron only had a few starts, 4 or 5 starts under his belt. So it wasn't like he was this super experienced quarterback. But I do think that that's an issue with the Buffalo Bills right now.
Pass underneath to Marcus Murphy is incomplete.
When you look at what they've got, they don't have that veteran quarterback for Josh Allen to kind of lean on the way that Sam Darnold has Josh McCown. The way that you would always like to have your young quarterback have that person show him how to prepare during a game, how to make the adjustments, what to look for. It's a very difficult situation to try and figure out on your own.
Nathan Peterman was not the guy last week in Baltimore. He got his first start against these Chargers last year, threw 5 interceptions in the first half. On third down, pass is complete for a first down. That's Logan Thomas. So far, Allen now 13 of 27 today for 180 yards. Are you impressed with what you see in his first start?
It's what I expected. I love the guy. I thought he should have been the first quarterback picked. Long term, I think he's got a tremendous future. But this is what I expected to see today. Some good and probably more bad.
That pass intended for Zay Jones is incomplete. The Bills want a pass interference called on Trevor Williams.
But and this could have gone either way at that point, but it wasn't a clear-cut hit on Zay Jones before the ball got there. It was kind of a bang-bang type of play. When you look at the whole situation here with Josh Allen, some people say, well, why would you just not keep Tyrod Taylor around instead of trading him to Cleveland?
Here's Murphy. And Murphy gets up to the 42. That was a dive, by the way, not Williams. But it's a good point. But it's a money issue, too.
That was what Brandon Beane told. He said it was a money issue. It would have been a $15 or $16 million hit against the cap. And you don't know how Tyrod Taylor is going to handle that situation. Is he going to be a positive influence on the young quarterback, knowing this guy's here to replace him?
2:25 and counting to play in the fourth quarter. Allen's pass complete to Kroom.
That's a first down.
Yep. Desmond King in on a tackle up to the 49-yard line.
But to finish it off, I do see the logic. You got a third-round pick for Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
So there's value in that, and you make the decision, well, we're going to now take our lumps with the young quarterback.
And you got a 5th-round pick for A.J. McCarron. They go underneath to Murphy, and Murphy inside the 45 to the 44. So we've reached the 2-minute warning. Chargers in control on top 31-13. Josh Allen, though, getting another chance to drive the ball.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, enjoyed by Giant Blue fictional knights everywhere.
Back here in Buffalo, it's 2nd down and 3. From the 44-yard line of the Chargers. Los Angeles on top 31-13. Chargers going to move to 1-1 with today's victory. And Allen is nailed. Whistle blows as the ball comes loose. Jatavis Brown will be credited with the sack. Now that'll move the football back to the 48 of Buffalo.
But this is all valuable time for Josh Allen right there. He missed the blitz. He didn't know where he was protected, where he wasn't. Seeing those things and understanding what he missed is so important. These 2-minute drills will pay off for him down the road.
On 3rd down, Allen to throw. Steps up in the pocket to the middle of the field, and a diving attempt by Robert Foster. It's a completed pass to the 32-yard line.
That's a heck of a catch by Foster, and I like the way that Josh Allen stood in the pocket. Strong, delivered a catchable ball. If they can finish this drive out with a touchdown, that's a good way to end this ball game for Josh Allen.
Gain of 19 yards. They'll dump it off underneath to Murphy, who just can't hang on with 55 seconds and counting to play. Now 54 as the clock stops with the incomplete pass. Allen 16 of 32, 212 yards, 2 interceptions. He's been without LaShawn McCoy for this fourth quarter. McCoy left with a rib injury. Zay Jones 2 catches 63 yards. Foster 2 catches 30 yards. There's McCoy. They dump it off to Ivory. And Ivory makes a few men miss. And then another one inside the 25. And now the 10. And out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. They're going to mark him inside the 3. It's some good running by Chris Ivory.
Very nice. Chris Ivory underrated over the last several years. He was in Jacksonville, but a good, solid football player.
Coming up, bonus coverage, Kansas City and Pittsburgh. 5:40 to play right now in the fourth quarter. As a timeout is called on the field here.
Derwin James need a little bit of help getting off the field. A couple of real nice moves there by Ivory. Missed tackles. There's Derwin James, knocked him out of bounds finally.
Yeah, by the way, these rookies that the Chargers have played today, you know, James, Kaiser White, Nwosu. I mean, these guys, they are going to be really good.
Yeah,
moving
that's to be playing them from the beginning of their rookie year on. These guys are going to be impact type players for a lot of years.
42 seconds to play. First and goal from the 3. That's Clay in motion for the Bills. Allen to the back of the end zone. It's caught. Benjamin, touchdown, Buffalo. Well, that's the exact play that we watched over and over again in practice the other day. Joel and Levon.
Benjamin took a shot to the head. He probably didn't enjoy that part of it very much, but that throw by Josh Allen, it's great to see from the Bills' perspective, standing in there strong and ripping this ball in there, threaded into a tight window, and then the recipient, Kelvin Benjamin, to be involved on a play, a positive play at the end of the game. That's good. That was Josh Allen's first touchdown pass of his career.
18 of 34, 245 yards. And now the point after by Hauschka.
But they have to find a way to get Kelvin Benjamin more involved in their offense. I mean, if they want to have a chance, he's got to be part of the picture.
2 catches, 19 yards. Yeah, the point after by Hauschka is good. So 31 to 20, 38 seconds to play here in the fourth quarter. And Clay has the football and hands it to Josh Allen. That is a keeper. And Joel and Levon, his parents, they love it. Must be pretty cool to watch your son perform in the highest level from a National Football League standpoint. Listen, they're going to lose today's ball game. They're down 31 to 20, but there were some really good things from him today.
No doubt. I mean, he's got a lot of room for improvement, but here's the great part about it. I think he's going to get there. He has got so much to work with. His skill set, his physical ability, and his desire to be a great quarterback. You know, LaShawn McCoy told us in the meeting he's always trying to prove people wrong. He's always trying to prove himself because he's had so many doubters out there. He wasn't recruited in any of the big schools, and then now coming out as a first-round draft choice, a lot of people didn't think he was worth it already.
Onside kick by the Bills, and it's recovered by Allen. And Allen is inside the 25. And he'll be marked down close to the 23-yard line. Neal in on the special teams tackle. All right, last year the Chargers, they started 0-4. They're going to get a win here today. And this is what they have coming up. Next week it's a tough one. The Rams are high-powered, but they can match them offense for offense.
They can.
And then San Francisco, Oakland, Cleveland, and Tennessee before the bye.
Yeah, if they can get that big win next week in the Battle of L.A.,
yeah,
that'll propel them. They have a chance to make a little run over the next 3 or 4 games.
We asked Anthony Lynn if he's been to the new stadium. He said, I was there this summer. He said, I don't know if there's going to be a better stadium in the National Football League.
Yeah, he said, wait till you see it.
Geno Smith is on to take the knee for the San Diego Chargers. They are going to get their first victory of the season. 31-20. Philip Rivers, 23 of 27, 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. Josh Allen, who worked with Philip Rivers for a small amount this past off season, not too shabby in his first NFL start, 18 of 34, 245. Philip Rivers had a lot of nice things to say about Josh Allen this week. He thinks also that he's going to be a very good player. The final score, it's the Chargers 31, the Bills 20. So for Steve Berline, this is Tom McCarthy saying so long for Buffalo. Coming up, the NFL Today update delivered by Pizza Hut. We'll take you to New York for all the latest scores and highlights right after this. So long, everybody, from Buffalo.